So he's a Dallas firefighter, a Golden Gloves boxer. His first role was on Paper Moon in 1973, and now he's been in more than 100 films and TV shows. He played that clumsy cowboy Lyle. Here is the great Burton Gilliam.
Hey.
Hi, Burton.
Thank you for having me. This is going to be fun.
Welcome to Wizard World.
Most people don't say that I was clumsy. They say I was dumb. Okay.
We'll go with clumsy, and we'll see how it graduates over the next 40 minutes.
Okay.
Now, this next guest may have had a small role in Blazing Saddles, but he was just 5 years old, and he's gone on to a prolific career in TV, film, commercials, as a singer, producer, radio host. If it can be done in entertainment, our next guest has done that. He played the very young 5-year-old Sheriff Bart way before he was the sheriff. Here is the great Rodney Allen Rippy.
Hey.
Rodney, welcome.
How are you? It's good.
Oh, my goodness. It's great to see you. Welcome to Wizard World. Welcome to today's virtual experience. Great to see you here.
Good to be here, man. Good to be here.
Well, I mentioned at the top, this movie, for a lot of people, it's the epitome of the comedy classic. It's number 6 on the AFI list. Now, this was the second movie for you, Burton, and Rodney, your first.
Yep.
Tell me, you did the movie. What kind of impressions 46 years later do you have of what it's meant to people?
Who goes first, me or Burton?
You go.
Well, honestly, I have to say, big love to all the Wizard World people out there. It was, I was just a little boy. And when you're starting out in the industry, you know it's important. My mom always stressed, to me that, Rodney, this is serious business. And I knew that there was a lot going on, the trucks, the people, the cameras, the lights. But I always knew that this was a very huge opportunity in all my life, everywhere I go. I mean, it every week or so, I'll bump into somebody and they'll say, hey, man, I just saw, they played Blazing Saddles on TV. I watched you the other night, and I get phone calls about it, and I get texts about it. It hits me on my social media, and it was very impactful. I mean, Mel and again, the whole cast, that was an all-star cast. And of course, my man, Burton, he was there. It was just perfect harmony in comedy. And and I honestly would say it's one of the, if not the greatest comedy feature film that was ever made.
And I would say that you are totally correct, Rodney. It was a perfect time. Mm-hmm. Our country was just coming out of Vietnam. We were coming out of the hippie thing and all of that, the big drug using and all of that stuff. Our country was ready to really laugh about something, and it was perfect timing on Mel's part. I don't think he could have not. It would have never worked 3 years before or 3 years after. I'm just so proud that we got to be a part of this epic film.
Yep.
And timing was great for the film. Timing was also great for you guys involved in just in terms of being involved in the film. Burton, I love your origin story of how you got kind of in the business, and Rodney, I want to hear from you as well. How this became your first role at 5. Tell me about getting these roles in this film, or for both of you.
Well, for me, I had done a picture called Paper Moon just before that, 4 months before, and I had never been in a grade school play. I had never thought about being an actor. I was a fireman for 14 years in Dallas, but Mel saw a rough cut of Paper Moon, and I had a wonderful part in Paper Moon. I mean, it was just, they don't know it, but they wrote it for me. And Mel calls me at the fire station, and at the fire station, you answer the phone, fire station number 39, Gilliam speaking, and this guy says, hi, my name's Mel Brooks. I'm a writer, director, producer, actor, and I'm getting ready to do a big picture, and I want you to be one of my stars. I said, thank you, Mr. Brooks. Boom. I hung up the phone. I knew it was another fireman giving me a bad time because I had done, Paper Moon 4 months before. But if Mel had not seen a rough cut of Paper Moon the night before he called me, I'd be a retired fireman living down in East Texas, and I'd have 2 cows. That's what retired firemen do.
Rodney, how about you? How did you get started, and how was this your first role?
Well, you guys probably are the fans out there, the Wizard World. You guys will probably remember me from here. This is where it all got started. Actually, I got my start at 3.5 years old, and I was just a little boy growing up in Long Beach, California. And one day I was watching The Little Rascals, and I'm sitting there in the living room. My mom's washing dishes, and I'm laughing. And my mom comes in and says, "What's so funny?" And I pointed the TV, and I'm watching The Little Rascals. And my mom's like, "Oh, you're laughing at buckwheat." And I'm like, "Yeah." And then my mom's like, "What, you think you could do that? You think you could be on TV?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And my mom's like, "Are you really?" She goes, "You wouldn't be afraid of all the cameras and the people?" And I'm like, "Nope." And years later, psychologically, I sat there and I thought it through. I envisioned myself as one of the gang because they were always having fun, and I was always like wanting to jump through the screen and be with the gang. And I think that's what gave me a comfort level of just the craziness that went on. And honestly, when I had my first audition for the Jack in the Box spot, I went in cool as a cucumber. It was no big deal. It was like, and my mom was just kind of like rolling with it. We went in. I had no formal training, and I hit the Jack in the Box campaign that went on to be one of the, actually it was the biggest commercial campaign of my whole career thus far, knock on wood. But the best part of it was it opened me up to great things like Blazing Saddles. Next thing you know, my phone's burning up. There were appearances on all the top TV shows, and from the very first American Music Awards, Dick Clark got, bless him, man, for having me be there with Michael Jackson, Donny Osmond, and Ricky Siegel. And me and Ricky stole the show. And from that, it was at a feverish pitch. If there was a thing called viral then, oh my God, it just would have been, it would have been over the top. But then the call came in from Blazing Saddles and Mel, and my agent called and said, "Hey, they got a role for Rodney. They want him to be a part of this movie. It's a big movie." And who knew, that it would become such a great, great film,
Yeah, so we have viewers from all over checking us out on Twitch and on Facebook and on YouTube. If you're there, go ahead and put in a comment. We'll get to some of the best ones. We have one that we've picked out already. Matthew Langston asked, and this fits right in with what you guys are saying. Was it fun making the movie? I know that's an open-ended question, but how much fun was it making the movie?
Well, of course, we were brand new, and this guy, and Rodney was he was still trying to learn good English, I guess. He was 5 years old.
Right.
But it was, for me, it was the greatest time in my life. I changed a life. I left the Dallas Fire Department after 14 years and went out and put my trust in Mel Brooks and my trust in Peter Bogdanovich. And they have always been a big help in my career. If I needed them right now for something, I could pick up the phone and call them and say, "Hey, what do you think about this? I need some help with this." It's been a wonderful run.
Rodney, how much fun did you have in your couple of days on the set?
It was amazing because I remember us being out there, and it was, they shot early and it was kind of cold, and I really had this feeling like, man, I'm like in the Wild West. There was all these covered wagons, there's horses, and the people, and it was funny because it was just how it all went together. But I just remember everybody laughing a lot. Everybody, it seemed like one of the happiest movie sets that you could ever imagine, because everybody was having a great time. They were laughing. And I just remember my mom being there, and just, you know, it was it was an epic film. This was not some little rinky dink production. It was huge. And you know that the outcome of the movie, why it was so great, was because of the great writing, the great producer, and the director, and the lineup of actors.
The first 4 or 5 days, we got a long way behind. And when you're dealing with a lot of money, time is money. But we were laughing all through the scenes. We'd have to do a scene 5 or 6, 7 times, and finally, on about the third or fourth day, Mel said, "Listen, we're going to laugh the first 2 takes. After that, there is no laughing. You're costing us a lot of money." So we knew that we could laugh right along with everybody the first couple of times. Then after that, we got to go for it.
So you guys, obviously, it was a great time. You had a great time. We mentioned also earlier that it was very early roles for you. Rodney, your first film role, Burton, your second. Did being on this movie and the way it turned out, you were both at a crossroads of what you could do with your lives. Did this movie convince you that this is what you wanted to do?
Well, I mean, me being a little kid, I was all gassed up, and you know, from the Jack in the Box thing, I knew that it was going somewhere because of the type of momentum. And me and my mom were traveling all over LA and around the country. And so I knew that this was going to be something that was going to be something I was going to probably do my whole life. And I knew that it was a big, big deal.
Wow. And for me, I never thought about being an actor until I was one. I saw an article in a Dallas paper while I was sitting around the fire station that said some big director by the name of Peter Bogdanovich was coming to Dallas to audition people to be something called extras. This was in 1972. And it said Ryan O'Neal was going to be the star of the show. And I thought, well, shoot, I might get to see Ryan O'Neal. I went down to this big hotel in Dallas and stood in line with 450 people. That's what the paper said the next day. And through a series of things, I wound up with the 6th largest part in the picture, a co-starring role. And they, about 3 weeks later, they hauled me off to St. Joseph, Missouri, and I took my vacation from the fire department. And while I was doing it, everybody said, "Man, you ought to quit the fire department, come to Hollywood." But I didn't do that. Hey, I got 14 years here. But luckily, you know, again, 4 months later, I got a phone call from this guy with the name of Mel Brooks. And I kept telling him no. I kept going out to see him and telling him no. A third time out, he and Richard Pryor, thank you, Richard, they threw so much money at me. Now, let me tell you how much money it was. The last time we talked, I sat down in front of Mel, and he said, "How much money is it going to take for us to get you to do this picture?" And I said, "Well, you know, at the fire department, I make $12,000 a year, and I know that really impressed him. You know, I know I got him right there."
Righteous box, yes.
And he says, and I said, he said, "Well, you know, we're going to give you 3 weeks on the picture." And I said, "Well, I could not. I'd have to make as much money as I make in a whole year." And he said, "Oh, $12,000, 3 weeks, that's $4,000 a week. That's okay." Just like that. How much money did I leave on that table? I don't know.
But you got what you wanted, right? And you started a career.
And as it turned out, I had 4.5 weeks. And with overtime, I made $25,000. It was a great start.
So Rodney, we said you got your start with this, and you were 5 years old. And how did you manage from age 5 and moving forward? A lot of actors, they start when they're young and they either burn out or it doesn't work out. How did it work out so well? Look how well adjusted you are. Look at all the things you've accomplished. How'd you do that?
Well, I mean, I was just very blessed, you know, and having good people around me. You know, at the time when I got started, there was a lady, her name was Dorothy Deotis, And she was one of the top children, child agents here in LA. And I lucked up on having a great agent. And from there, it just was all the top shows: Mike Douglas, Dinah Shore, Merv Griffin, Johnny Carson. I mean, down the list. And I mean, all the shows during the 70s and 80s: $6 Million Man, Police Story, Dr. Welby MD, The Odd Couple, Laugh-In. I mean, I can go on and on and on. The things that happened. There's my album right here. That's Take Life a Little Easier. That I'm actually the youngest person ever chart on Billboard, because of this crazy album. And then, I'm sitting here, I'm like, it's never been duped to a CD, so I got it all mocked up here, folks. So that's forthwith, so that's coming. So, but all the things about
we've all got our props today. I have nothing. I got photos.
We got our props. We got Blazing Saddles t-shirts full of happy.
A Rock Ridge behind me. That's
I'm not going to let Rodney Allen Rippy leave me out in the cold.
Yeah.
Get your blazing Burton's beans right here, pal.
Yes, blazing Burton's beans. But it's never stopped. And now I'm actually making my move as a writer, producer. I got major projects, got a couple feature film things that I'm working on, and just really looking forward to the next step in life. I'm planning on my autobiography, hopefully have that out next year. And it's just that I've been writing this autobiography, and it just keeps going because every year something else funny happens. But it's good.
So you guys answered this a little bit already, but Philip Nichols on one of our channels is asking what it was like, how much fun was it working with Mel Brooks on the movie, and what do you think are the reasons that the movie is held up so well? A lot of movies from 1974, they don't really hold up.
For me, I didn't have much to compare Mel Brooks to as a director. I had Peter Bogdanovich. Peter Bogdanovich tells every one of his actors what to do, where to go, how to do it, everything except deliver the lines. He tells them all the movement, and I love that. Here I go to work for Mel Brooks, and I go in a couple of days early, and I find out Mel says, know your lines, go out there and do what you do. Wow, I had to really focus in on doing something quite a bit differently, and I did. But I'm glad that I went in a couple of days early and saw that he expected me and all of us to make up our own movements, where we were going, what we were doing. Oh,
Rodney, you only had the one scene in the film, but it was with Mel Brooks. Tell me about that experience with working with him.
Well, it was funny, just being there, being a little kid. And, think about it, 5 years old, and here's an Indian chief. And I was like, an Indian chief? Wow. I'm like, this is incredible. It just didn't all compute because of all this crazy stuff. And we're sitting in a real covered wagon, and it's just, it's almost too much to kind of squeeze in my little head. But I have to say that I knew it was a great opportunity. And of course, Mel was very nice. And, and I remember, him being close to me and seeing his headdress and all of the feathers and everything. And I was just like, wow, this is just incredible. This is what real Hollywood and real comedy is all about. And that's what makes Mel, the greatest at what he did.
I saw you on set, and we probably said hi or something, but you were just a little 5-year-old kid.
Yeah.
My question, to make you more comfortable on that set, was that really your mom and dad? Or was that?
No, not in the covered wagon. No, my mom. Actually, my dad was working that day, and I think my dad came one of the days, but my mom came both days. And it was one of these things that, no, those were two other actors, and great actors, and they just played it up, and I was just happy to be their little.
Yeah, man.
And so along those lines, Arthur R., I know it was just one line you had, Rodney, but you were only 5. How'd you remember How'd you remember when, and how many takes did you have to be able to say thank you?
You know what? They made it easy on me. And you know, actually, there was a plan to actually have me throughout the movie, just kind of like Where's Waldo, like this little kid wandering around. But as they edited and cut, I was out of more and more scenes. But, you know, that one scene cemented me in, you know, comedy film history. And I'm so thankful for Mel. I would love if, hey, let me tell you something. If Mel did Blazing Saddles 2, I want to play Sheriff Bart. I'm telling you.
and I want to be Slim Pickens.
And you need to be. You need to be. Because, you know, and a lot of people have asked me, said, Rodney, if they did it, would you do it? I'm like, I would stand shoulder to shoulder with Mel. I'm like, hey, they might burn down the streets, but I'm like, hey, I'd be out there with a fire hose with Mel. Come on, Mel, I got you. Don't worry about it, buddy. We got this thing.
That's great. So as we move on, I want to remind everyone that the live video chats and the autographs and the recorded videos with these stars are going to be available for a couple more days. If you're watching us live, you've got a couple of more days. If you're watching it on replay, you know, hurry up because that time will run out, and we want to get an extra opportunity. In Wizard World, we're really excited and pleased to be able to bring these free Q&As to everyone and to get everyone a chance to enjoy these great stars when, you know, we're all kind of getting through days as we can, but a great opportunity for a little bit more, ask a few more questions and get a little more personal with them with those opportunities. Chuck Hobby Guy wants to know the locations that you guys shot at. Where did you guys shoot everything, and how did that factor in to the movie?
Take it away. Go ahead, Burton, tell them.
Rodney was out on the desert, out of about 125 miles northeast of Los Angeles, out on the dry riverbeds out there. We shot out there a number of days, but we also shot at a place called Vasquez Rocks, just north of Los Angeles, about 15 miles. And it's a place where all the rocks are at a slanted, and they've done more Westerns out there than any place for Westerns in the Hollywood area.
That's like out in near Chatsworth.
Yes, that's right. It's out near Chatsworth. It is. If you guys are tourists, if you're ever out here, if you go out near because they've shot a lot of space movies out there, because it looks like you're in outer space. It really does. They got these huge rocks in there, these land formations. It's really crazy, but that's it, Chatsworth. Yeah.
So Burton, as a Texas guy, you probably had seen some Western movies before you were on the set of this. Maybe a few.
Yeah.
How did doing this movie and having the movie come out the way it did change your perspective on those shows and movies? I mean, there were 50 Westerns on television at the same time in the certain points of the 60s. Only 3 channels, but 50 movies.
Yes.
50 TV shows.
All of those TV Westerns had just gone about a year before I got into business. I would have worked every day, back then when they were shooting all those Westerns. But it was a great opportunity for me to see how Westerns were really made. Of course, I grew up on Roy Rogers and Gene Autry and the Cisco Kid and all that, and that's a whole different ball game than Blazing Saddles. But you've still got cowboys, you've got horses, and you've got cattle, and you have campfire scenes. Those things never change. Although the campfire scene...
Campfire scenes? What's a campfire scene?
Well, that is...
campfire?
We'll go back here.
And here.
Yes, and right there it is. And I will say this. I am the first person in motion picture history.
You can say it.
To pass gas.
There you go.
Yeah, and I'm doing a good thing here. And I've talked, I talk to Mel all the time. every now and then I'll say, Mel, I'm not in the Guinness Book of Records. What's going on here? He hadn't taken the hint yet.
First or loudest? Could be either one, yes?
Well, the loudest, we did try. We were doing our very best for the first couple of takes. Then after that, we had to rely on the sound effects,
Rodney, to get back, we'll get to that scene again because it's one of the most famous scenes in film. But Rodney, so how old were you when your mom and dad let you watch this film?
You know what? I tell you, I have to tell you, my mom and dad and everybody, my family's totally supportive of it. And I have to tell you, we watched it. I was a little guy, and my mom was just like, "Okay, son, you're good to go. Okay, you're good to go. Oh, there you go." But hey, I watched the film, and it was all serious business for me. And like I said, at 3 years old, I knew this was a job. My mom told me, she said, "Rodney, don't worry about anything else. Don't worry about the lights. Just hit your lines, do your job." And that was it. So I knew it was serious business.
And did you go back and watch any Westerns after this and kind of see what the origins were? Because I know for me, I had seen this movie before I'd seen probably any Western. And then I went and I watched High Noon, and I know that tune. And there was a tune from the Johnsons. Yeah. So my dad, yeah. What happened with you going backwards?
Honestly, my dad, he loved Gunsmoke, and they loved all the great shows of that era, and Hang 'em High and all that good stuff. And it was just, Westerns were the staple for American television, and so many people kind of gravitated, and that's why Westerns they're still making Western movies to this very day. And, and it's a part of our history, and that's what made America great, Even though not a lot of the actors in this had that Western history, there is one that had a ton of Western history, and that was Slim Pickens. Burton, you got to work with Slim in a lot of scenes. What was it like working with someone of that stature in the business and in the Western world? What authenticity he brought to his character?
First of all, as soon as I met him, he knew that, everybody, the cast, everybody knew that I was brand new. I didn't know what I was doing. So Slim just said, "Hey, follow me." And he became my very best friend in the business. My wife and I used to go up to visit him and his wife after they moved up to Columbia, California, up in up in the mountains.
Rodney, where you're from?
Yeah, well, I'm from Long Beach. I grew up in Long Beach.
This is totally different from Long Beach. But being with Slim was the greatest thing because he was just poor. He didn't have to try to tell me how things were and how you do things. I just watched him and learned from watching. And he was, like I say, he became my very best friend, a good guy. I'll never forget Slim Pickens. And when you think of what's the name of the picture? He's riding the bomb. When he's riding the bomb, anyway. And when you think about that picture, you got to think about him riding the bomb.
With the Peter Sellers movie.
Yeah, right.
Okay, yeah.
Why can't we think of the name of it? I don't know. It's only a great picture,
So one guy that you both had connection with, and we have a question from Matt Langston asking about what it was like working with Gene Wilder. I know, Rodney, you said even though you didn't have a scene with him, you got to meet him, and Burton, you were mixed in and out of scenes with him. But what was working with someone of that stature as well in this film? Because he was just starting to become Gene Wilder. People didn't maybe necessarily know who he was yet.
It was just, like I said, meeting the whole cast and being a part of it, and just being a little kid, but kind of receiving the love that I did, because it was like everybody who met me from Cleavon and Cleavon Little and just everybody who came up, "Hey, Rodney," I just felt like I'm part of the gang. I feel like I'm part of the crew because wherever we crossed paths, they always greeted me. And I just felt very welcome and just again glad to be a part of this epic film.
For
Burton,
me,
you had some scenes with him also.
Gene was, Gene was not a funny man. Gene never tried to be a comedian. He just, he could take the page and read the words off of it and make something funny out of it. He was never known for being funny on the set. He was not. He was a studious kind of guy. He had his nose in a book all the time. He was reading. But if I needed help, when he watched me do something in between scenes, he'd say something like, "Hey, right here, when you said that, be thinking about something that's totally different, but something that is really you can make something out of. Think of something different." And golly, that's the way he operated. He was just different from what he showed in his everyday life. He was just different.
Yeah, part of what made the movie great is that Gene Wilder had some roles and people knew who he was, and Mel had his kind of a medium role there. But the star of the film was a virtual unknown in Cleavon Little, and he makes the movie, gives the movie the heart that it has. Just the way he was. How was meeting and working with Cleavon on that set?
Well, I just had, like I said, I had the opportunity to meet him, and there was that moment of, I was playing him, I was a little him, and little sheriff, and that was it. I just had that type of love and respect, and it was a busy time. They were busy doing things, and so we had our meeting and things like that, but I knew that just the size and scope of the production, you knew that was it's going to be a big film, and it was.
I went when I worked with Cleavon, he and I we were close, and he knew that I was out from Dallas to do the picture, and I was going to go back to Dallas and I was going back to Dallas to work for Paper Moon as it was being released, and I went around the South doing the PR stuff for the thing. Then I go back out to Hollywood immediately, and he told me, when you get ready to move back out here, call me. I'll have to find an apartment. I went back out. I got an apartment that was, Rodney, you know where the Oakwood Garden apartments are up above Warner Brothers. 1,750 units. Over 3,000 people lived up there, and he lived there. And so he took me up there, and I got an apartment. And he was really a wonderful influence on my really getting started out there. What a good guy.
Yeah, it certainly made an impression. And the film, as we've said a couple times before, is one of the great all-time comedies, and it's also one of the great quotable movies. What's your maybe one or two favorite quotes from the movie, whether they were your own line or not, Burton?
I think the quicksand deal when they were on the rails and it started sinking. It was just the way Cleavon, when he had to crawl out, and he had that shovel, and he was like, baby, I gotta do it. And the guy's like, no, don't do it. He said, no, baby, I gotta do it. And then he conks him in the head with the shovel.
And Burton, you have a great line when you have a great line there after he gets hit with the shovel. You repeat the ow.
He's, of course, Slim is Mr. Taggart is telling me what to write. Send wire, main office, tell them I said, ow. Gotcha. But I was given some there. You're right. It's the most quoted movie of all time. I know that. And people come up to me every day and say a lot of them are my lines, and a lot of them are other people's lines. And I know that they want me to come back with a retort of some sort. But come on, boys, I don't hear no singing. When you was other guys, you sang like birds. Come on, how about a good old pork song here? You know, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
They were great lines for me.
Yep.
Yeah. That's tremendous. We have a few more minutes, so I wanted to first. We had thankfully when you crowdsource these things, one of our fans reminded us that Dr. Strangelove is the movie that we were thinking of.
Thank you very much.
Burton, that you and I couldn't think of. We pieced it together, and fortunately, someone on one of our feeds was able to answer that. So thank you, whoever that was, who helped us answer that. I want to go through a couple more of the folks that were part of this movie that. And maybe a little unsung. First was Madeline Kahn, and what a brilliant actress, and the scenes that she does, both the singing and the. Talk about Madeline Kahn a little bit and your relations with her during the film.
My relationship started with her of course, she was in Paper Moon, and she told me when that film was over. She told me, she said, you know, I just know this. You and I are going to work together in this business again one of these days. And here I was on vacation from the fire department. And I said, oh, I'm going back to the fire station. She says, I don't care. We're going to work together again one of these days. 4.5 months later, I walk into a big conference room, and there she is sitting at the end of the table. And she says, are you in this movie? I said, yes, I am. And she jumped up and ran over and hugged me. She said, I told you. She is Mel Brooks' favorite actor or actress of all time to work with. She was just absolutely wonderful. Great gal. And she gained 25 pounds to be in Paper Moon, and lost it all in the next 5 months. And she's a little bitty thing.
She didn't have it in. She didn't have 25 extra pounds.
She was a little bitty. Yeah, there's nobody better than Madeline Kahn.
Rodney, did you meet her? She wasn't on set as much. Maybe you didn't have.
I don't think I didn't have the pleasure of meeting her, but just being able to know the impact and how she was placed in the film, and of course, how she was, such an intricate part with Mel in the film. It's very obvious that she was big time, and everybody there on that set went on to have great careers, and they're well loved everywhere they go. And the crazy phones ring. No. But that's the whole thing that I have to tell you. It's, that there are major careers that were birthed from Blazing Saddles, and mine included. And so that's, I'll be forever thankful to Mel for the opportunity, and looking forward to what's next.
So I'm going to put you on the spot, Rodney. You worked with Lee Majors, Robert Urich, and George Burns. Who is your favorite out of the three? I have
to tell you, I loved all three, but doing Oh God Book 2, I have to say George Burns. And I actually had an opportunity. We were in the middle of shooting a film, and one of the Panavision cameras went down, and we were stuck. So we had to wait, and we were shooting this thing at Venice High School, and we were shooting in the gymnasium, and up at the top of the bleachers, we were all hanging out, all the kids on the set were all hanging out, and we're just waiting. And I looked up, and there's, George Burns sitting all the way at the top of the bleachers. And so when nobody was looking, I just actually got up casually and kind of moved back a couple rows. And when nobody was looking, I walked up there just to meet him one-on-one. And I sat down and I had an hour conversation because they didn't miss me. Everybody was talking and things. And I actually had a one-on-one with George Burns for an hour. And it was amazing because I went up and I just said, hey, I just wanted to say hi, to meet you. And I know that, you're the lead in this whole thing. And he went on to tell me, he goes, I know who you are, kid. And I was like, wow, and he goes, well, what do you know about me? And I said, I know you love Gracie. And he said, Gracie, what do you know about Gracie? And I told him, and I said, well, I know that, George and Gracie. And so he said, let me tell you. And so I sat down and he started telling me everything about how his career started from the Chitlin Circuit and everything that he had done. And I was just like, wow. And I had an opportunity to sit there and have a one-on-one with George Burns. And I have to say that was it.
Yeah, star of obviously comedy and movies. And Burton, one that you worked with that's, in terms of star level, maybe almost as great, Chevy Chase. And I think that memorable scene in Fletch, I know a lot of my friends and I love that scene and love the quotes and things in that. What was working with Chevy Chase like?
The day before we were to do that scene, I got a call from him, and I'd never met Chevy, but I'd heard, boy, he is a tough guy to work with. He's always had that stance, and so. But he called me and he said, listen, I don't like this scene that we're doing, but we have to have it. I do not like the words. Come over here. He said, what are you doing today? And I said, nothing. He said, they were working at a park over in Beverly Hills. And I went over and had lunch with him. And then we went to his dressing room. And he said, I don't like anything about this. Let's start with this line and finish with this line, and everything else in here, let's just make it up as we go. And we did, and we killed him with it. I mean, it is a great scene. He just led me through these things, and I said them. And there's another person, an actor, who is in that scene with us. We didn't tell him what we were doing. The next time you see the picture, watch him. Every line he doesn't say it. He just says a couple of little 2-word lines, but he'd have a look on his face about like, what are y'all doing?
The ball bearings and the spritzer valve, and you guys made all that up.
I think
ball bearings these days.
I think it's the bypass line. Yeah. Gordo. It's a funny little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, this movie means so much to so many people, and you guys really got your start in this film. And look at the careers that it's led to. We just have a couple minutes left. Any last things you guys would like to say? Either some things you're working on, some projects, or some charities, or I'll just leave the floor open to you to kind of close.
Burton, go ahead, Burton.
Hey, I haven't done a picture now in 4.5 years. I may be out of the business. I don't know. But every year I do about 50 car commercials, and I do them as my Blazing Saddles character. Of course, we're not doing them now because of what we're going through. But I just, I'm having a good time. This is the best part of my life. I play a lot of golf. I'm looking forward to doing another picture one of these days. But if I don't, what a wonderful, wonderful run it has been for me and my wife and our family.
Rodney, same thing.
Well, looking to make my move and start producing and directing. Got a feature film called Hormone Tuesday. Me and a partner have been working for a long time on a music project. We're working on the Country Soul Music Awards. Actually, people like Charlie Pride and Ronnie Millsap, and these people are country soul singers, and so we want to honor them. Of course, I want to finish up my autobiography, and I'm just working with a lot of great charities. I'm tied into Special Olympics, American Cancer Society. I can just go on and on. The great organizations that I'm tied to. And looking forward to getting involved with things with kids and education. And so I'm working with a group. They do vocational things for kids to get them more hands-on. They're called Prime Motivation. I'm with a group called Hidden Pioneers. And it's to spotlight people who've done great things in our world. And I'm just thankful and thank God for, Burton and Wizard World and people in the industry and all the fans out there who know and love us. We love you. I personally say I appreciate everything you've done and for supporting me over the years, and the best is yet to come.
Amen. You got that right. Yes, sir.
Yes,
They
sir.
played Lyle. They played Baby Bart in the movie that we all know and love, Blazing Saddles, number 6 on the AFI. Burton, Rodney, thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate you guys being with us. There it is. The Blu-ray is tremendous. There's a lot of extra pieces on there that if you love the movie, there's some commentary and just so many things. We didn't even talk about the show that came after. We got to a lot of stuff. We covered a lot of ground. We appreciate you being with us today, Burton and Rodney, today. Thanks so much.
Hey, this is Alex Malari Jr., and you are watching Fandom Spotlight. Be sure to hit that like button, share, and subscribe. Your Emperor commands it. Thanks for watching.